Good evening. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. We do have an alert day out for our first severe weather event in, 3 months? Something like that. Not too bad. I mean, at least 3 months. That's just off the top of my head. So not too bad. But this is our first event, and we do expect a long march through May ahead. So good little warm up around here, if you will. Again, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with W&K. Of course, good evening to you as you're coming into the broadcast. If you would not mind, tap that share button at the bottom portion of your screen if you're over there on Facebook. You can share this on your newsfeed so that your friends and family can view it and get updated on what to expect. Again, this is a mainly nocturnal event, so not a lot of people will be awake during the event, so we want to make sure we're getting everyone as prepared as possible. So I would appreciate your help with sharing the broadcast on Facebook and YouTube, reaching out to your family and friends, making sure they know what's coming their way. We have seen a bit of an uptrend the last few hours, so we're going to talk about that in some facets. So a few changes to talk about here with you. So again, once we get to about 75 shares, that's when we know it's usually time to go. So hopefully we can start getting those rolling in. Make sure you're saying hello as you come in too so I can greet you. Over on YouTube, hello Smoke, Gubby hello, Angel hello, Vicky hello, Silver out of Meade County, Karen, good evening to you. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you're saying hello as you come in. Appreciate all the messages and comments today on National Weather Person's Day. Quite frankly, I didn't even know it was a thing. So thank you. I mean, I knew it was a thing, but I never know when. It always catches me off guard every year. Cheyenne, Laura, Tara, Paula, Angela, Laura, again, Shelby, thank you all for all the shares on the broadcast on Facebook. Again, once we get to about 75 shares, we'll go. That's our goal for today. Ivy, hello, how are you? Someone said, "God to see you're back." I missed who it was, though. Thank you. Hello from E-Town, Tina, hello. Ashley, Justin, Amber, good evening to you. Out of Louisville, Amber is. Jessica, good evening to you. Tyler, hello. I appreciate everyone. Ethan, the Storm Chaser from Elizabethtown, good evening to you. That reminds me, Reed Timmer is headed our way tonight. That's always a pretty good indicator, even if you don't follow weather and all that, but you follow Reed for just watching videos. Knowing where he's going is probably a good bet on knowing where strong to severe weather might live. Thank you guys for all the shares and likes on the broadcast. We appreciate you. We are live on both YouTube and Facebook tonight. Once again, I'm going to do my intro one more time for those folks that are just now tuning in here. I know notifications go out a little bit slower for some folks. That's why we always wait. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with W&K. Appreciate you tuning in tonight. We do have an alert day out tonight for the potential for severe weather. Tornadoes, brief hail, as well as strong wind gusts are all on the table tonight. We'll go over where and when we expect those to occur. What you're seeing right now, if you are seeing a rain or a thunderstorm right now, or over the last few hours, is not the event that we were referring to. We are talking about late tonight into the overnight hours. So I've tried to make that very clear, but some people are still getting confused on that. What you've seen in the last few hours is not the event. What we're seeing later on will be the event. Thank you guys for your shares and likes on the broadcast. About 30 more shares on Facebook, and then we'll get going. We appreciate all of you. Brittany, Paula, Christine, Tina, again, Amy, thank you for your shares on the broadcast. We appreciate you. 5,000, almost at 5,000 stars. Wow, that would have been crazy. 20 stars from Sadie on Facebook. Thank you for your donation. I appreciate it. KM from Harlan, hello, how are you? Audrey says she's nervous here in BG. Don't be nervous. The biggest thing with these guys is to be prepared. Angel, good morning or good evening. My brain is gone, as it usually is. Jennifer, good evening too. Sharon, hello. Lisa, hello. Christine, hello from Elk Fork, Kentucky. Every night I get on here, I learn there's a new town in Kentucky. It's impossible, guys, even as a weather guy, to know every single town in an entire state. Maybe in a small zone, but not an entire state. So every time I get on here, I always sound like I always know I'm going to learn a new town. Ashley, thank you for your 50 stars. I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and start getting rolling into the broadcast here. We will be live with you tonight, by the way, when things start to pop off. So make sure you have notifications turned on YouTube and Facebook, and make sure you're following or whatever that good stuff is. Subscribing on YouTube. I mean, you guys know what I mean. You guys know how the internet works. All right, let's go pull up our main screen here. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to display. The sponsors are gonna get their time. So if you're a sponsor and you're in here and you want your logo up, just wait. You're gonna get your time. I want to go full screen real quickly though, because I want to pull up some of these maps for everybody. Heather, thank you for your 100 stars. Caitlin, thank you for your 20 stars, and appreciate you guys. All right, let's go ahead and roll to the broadcast here. So again, we have the alert day out. You guys should have already seen this. This has been posted on Facebook and Twitter. But if you have missed this, this is our alert day messaging here. Focal point of the severe weather will be southern and central Kentucky. That's starting to come a little bit more north. I'll talk to you about that here in a second. Timing is 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. We're also starting to look at maybe going beyond 5 a.m. So this might be more of a several-hour event. 3% tornado risk, that has increased. I will tell you about where that is. 15% severe wind risk, and then a 10% medium hail risk. So those are your current things on the table right now. And of course, flash flooding goes along with that. So I want to show you what's changed here on the SPC, and then we're going to then we're going to look at the model data, then we're going to get some messages from our sponsors, and look at the current outlooks here, and we'll answer a few questions. I'm not going to go into every single zip code tonight because we'll be here all night, folks, and I got more science to break down here. So here's the news outlook. This was just issued back at 6:39 p.m. Central Time, at 7:39 p.m. Eastern Time. So a pretty new update here. They did increase the bulk of Central and Southern Kentucky up to a level 2 out of 5 risk. This should have been out there way sooner. I'm not really sure what they waited on, but you know what? Hey, they got there eventually. You know, sometimes with the SPC, they hold back a little bit, then they eventually get there last minute. That's fine. We were already on top of this. We already changed our forecast several hours ago. Basically, the level 2 out of 5 risk stretches all the way from, let's say, just east of Murray to about the London and Corbin areas and Williamsburg areas in eastern Kentucky, and then goes up to about the Parkways area. So places like southern Hardin County, Grayson County, Nelson, going over toward Danville, going over toward Richmond, and then points to the south there to include all the way down to the Kentucky and Tennessee border. This has been the focal point of this event. The difference over the last few hours in data is some of that more, how do I best explain this? Some of the better surface ingredients will be spreading a little bit further north. So there's different layers of the atmosphere. We all know this, right? You have the surface, several hundred feet up, several thousand feet up, ranging all the way up to thousands and thousands and thousands of feet up, right? We knew that several thousand feet up, the ingredients were there for everyone. That's why we talked about a wind and hail risk. Earlier this morning and last night, we knew that at the ground, the ingredients would be there for the Kentucky-Tennessee line. What we've learned over the last hour or two is data is beginning to suggest that the ingredients will be there at the ground all the way up into the Western Kentucky portions of the Parkway, or Western Kentucky Parkway portions of the area, and Bluegrass Parkway, and so on and so forth. So those ingredients are able to spread a little bit further north there. So we're keeping an eye on that to see if it spreads even further north. I don't think so. I think this is a pretty good map here from the National Weather Service's North Prediction Center. It also matches our forecast pretty well. We haven't changed our forecast. This has been pretty similar from this morning. You could have argued that this orange zone should be expanded to match theirs. It's a little too late at this point, but again, this is a new forecast. The one that we made was several hours ago. So nonetheless, basically from the Parkways to point south, that's the focal point. But in that 1 out of 5 risk, that dark green for pretty much all of Kentucky now, you will also see strong thunderstorm activity and the potential for severe weather. So even if you're on a 1 out of 5 risk on this, I wouldn't let my guard down too much here. All right, so that is the National Weather Service's broad outlook. Here is the new tornado outlook. It does indicate a 5 to 9% risk for a tornado to occur within a 25 miles of a point. Basically saying anywhere in this brown zone, there's a 5 to 9% risk of a tornado to occur somewhere in that brown zone. In that green zone, a 2 to 4% risk still occurs. So that's what I was saying. Even if you're in that dark green zone, you're not in the prime bullseye, if you will, there is still a risk for tornadoes to occur. I do think whatever tornadoes do occur, obviously we cannot forecast the strength. I've had a lot of people send questions in. How strong do you think these naders are going to be? We can't tell you that beforehand. That's one of the few things in weather that absolutely no one can tell you beforehand on how strong a tornado is going to be. You can't forecast that. What I can tell you is that any tornado that will, if a tornado is on the ground, any of those should be short-lived. They shouldn't be very, very strong. Nonetheless, a tornado is a tornado. It's going to cause damages. It's going to bring impacts, right? But the ingredients are not there for a big, monstrous, super long track, whatever they're calling it nowadays, mega outbreak tornado thing. That's not going to occur. But there will be the opportunity for brief spin-ups to occur, causing damages. And even if you don't see yourself in a tornado tonight, there will be pockets of microbursts occurring. What are microbursts? Those are small, isolated pockets within a line of storm that can produce bursts of winds that could produce damages. So, multiple things on the table tonight. By the way, the wind outlook pretty much covers the entire portion of Kentucky, except for the far northern portion of the state. As you can see from our forecast that we put out several hours ago, we also left out the northern portion of the state. So, SPC is pretty much making the same forecast we are at this point. So, general wind risk there. Hail risk does exist for almost everyone in the state except for the top 2 counties there. So, generally a low hail risk with this. We don't expect hail to be very large, but I do expect some widespread hail. Again, these storms will be elevated at some point. That means these storms will live above the surface. They're colder up there. They can bring hail down to the ground. So, I do expect that there will be some widespread hail there. We do have some model data to look at here, so let's go ahead and look at that here in just one moment. I want to give a quick message from our sponsors real quickly before I get yelled at here. You guys know we're only able to do this for you because we have our wonderful sponsors that take care of us. First being the Right Implement. I'm going to go ahead and roll their video for you.
I enjoy seeing things grow. It's a fun process to be able to put a seed in the ground and seeing what comes from it. We always enjoy going to Wrights because they're always very helpful, and when we're in a need, they always get it done for us.
You know, if we break down the field, I make a call to Right Implement, and they always have someone out within a reasonable amount of time. I've been working with Right Implement for several years and wouldn't recommend any other dealership.
Thank you, Right Implement. We appreciate them. That's such a wholesome commercial. That's one of my favorite commercials I've ever seen on any company, whether they're a sponsor of us or not. That's genuinely explains Right Implement very well. That's why I always tell you guys, hey, if you got something you may need to purchase for home improvement or outdoors or outdoor apparel, maybe look at Right Implement instead of other places, because it's such a wonderful company to support there. Once again, we have FBI Buildings, has over half a century of experience in renovating, remodeling, and rebuilding any residential and commercial buildings. They also can give your pole barns new life if any disaster does hit. Of course, be sure to reach out to FBIbuildings.com for a free quote. Phenomenal company, really great reviews on that company there. Digital Solutions in Radcliffe, Kentucky is a family-owned tech shop. Be sure to repair or purchase a device from them and keep the business local. You guys see the theme here. I like working with local businesses. Thank you to Kayla and her team for supporting W&K. We appreciate them. And finally, it's a good idea after this harsh winter to make sure your roofs, by the way, winter is not done. We'll get into that down the road, but wanted to put that out there. It's a good idea after this harsh winter to make sure your roofs are ready for the springtime storms. If you're in or around Hardin County, make sure you check out Hyper Roofing at the link. I believe we have the link in there. If not, I'll get it to you here in just a second. At the link that's going to be in the chat here soon. I can list all their accolades, truly. But just know I trust them, and I know you can too. And get ahead of the storms on making sure your home is ready for them. Hyperroofing.com. And I'll also get the more specific link for you here in just a little bit. Really good idea after a harsh winter like this to make sure that everything's good to go for these types of storms. All right, let's go ahead and look at the model data now. We appreciate, once again, all of our sponsors. They're the reason we're able to be here for you guys through the night, late overnight. So make sure you consider supporting them. If you haven't already. Also, of course, weather-wise, you guys are going to see us use this a lot tonight. If you guys want to follow along on radars with us throughout broadcasts and throughout posting, make sure you download WeatherWise free radar and quickly becoming the #1 radar, and it's our radar of choice. So appreciate their support, and again, just a phenomenal radar. Make sure you download that weatherwise.app. So that's the sponsors there. Thank you once again to them. All right, let's go ahead and get into the actual model data here. So this is valid for 7 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, this is about an hour ago. This is pretty accurate as to what it looked like on radar. I'm going to advance this on forward to about 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. You'll start to see some of that popcorn activity, if you will, to the west. This usually indicates the support and the initiation of thunderstorms. So the difference here, once again, I want to show you this kind of colorful mess. Looks like Bob Ross may have had a long night and just threw a bunch of stuff everywhere. Pro Rancher, thank you for your $10 on YouTube. I appreciate that. The difference is, when I click this forward a few hours, you have these popcorn storms. So these have a little bit more space in between them. They can work to gain a little bit more strength. They don't have to spread all their energy around to this out here. They can just kind of work and do their own thing, you know? And that's the difference. So what we saw earlier and even right now is not the severe weather we're talking about for later, because the storm mode is different. Advancing this forward to 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. Some of those popcorn cells are to begin to pop up. Northwest Kentucky and southern Indiana will see the action first. Southern Kentucky, you will actually see less action, but it's because of that less action that you may have the higher ends of the severe weather to occur. Again, I'm trying to think of an example here. Oh, perfect. I just thought of something in my head. I got a full water bottle here, right? Can everybody see this? Cool. You see how the water has to be spread throughout every inch of that bottle because it's so full and it can't really go anywhere? Now, look at that one versus... Look, I got a lot of water bottles back here. It's been a long couple days forecast this for you guys. Look at this one that's kind of like a quarter of the way full. Not even that. Maybe an eighth of the way. See how that water can freely move throughout the whole thing? It's not really bogged down by all the other water. Same thing with the storms. If you have a less storm activity occurring in just a few cells in a big area, right? Those cells can get all the strength from that environment. It doesn't have to share it with the other ones. That's why the mold for southern Kentucky is a little more concerning, because there's going to be less cells to occur down there. And with those less cells, those few that do occur will be able to achieve stronger levels. So advance this forward. Hopefully that analogy made sense for you guys. Advance this on forward to 11 p.m. to midnight. Christine, thank you for your 200 stars on Facebook. I appreciate that. You'll see, once again, the river gets most of the activity at first. Some stronger cells here, too. I do expect some hail and winds to occur with this. Tornado threat shouldn't be there just yet. The tornado threat would be later on, but this would be an elevated risk. So the storms will actually be elevated at first and then make their way down to the ground. I know this one's kind of a weird setup here. It's very, very strange. It's hard to keep track with even for me. So if it's this forward to midnight to 1 a.m. Eastern time, you'll start to see some of the cells starting to get going in southern Kentucky there. An absolute mess stretching from, let's say, Mount Olivet, Kentucky, toward the Henderson, Kentucky areas along the Ohio River. Just a mess of storms up there. Very heavy rainfalls. Flash flooding will absolutely occur. Strong wind gust embedded with this. Moderate hail embedded with this. There is a small tornado risk with this line, but again, with it being so spread out like this, I think this is more of an elevated risk up here. Advances to 2 a.m. Eastern time. Those cells are now getting going down here, and you see the problem. There's the popcorn again. This line has lifted up to the north here. It has created space down there for Somerset to Bowling Green to Elizabethtown, for those areas to be able to get those individual cells, to allow them to get a little bit stronger, because they don't have to work with the line. They can work in space. So they're kind of selfish, if you will. Advancing this forward, that line is now reversing action. So remember, we saw this line the last few clicks, right? Go north. It goes south, it comes back north a little bit, and now it's going back to the south again. What's happening is there's a cold front and dry airs on the northern side of this line, and that's helping to try and force that line to the south. That forcing word being key. You have to have something to force the storms to go in order for severe weather to occur. The forcing mechanism here is going to be dry air that's pushing in on the northwestern side into the middle of what we call a warm area, a warm sector. That's very, very key. You have to have those ingredients. You have to have those characteristics for storms to thrive. Advances forward to 4 a.m. Eastern time. That line is getting going from Lexington to about Murray. But you see the concern. Somerset, that's a cell that's all alone. Now again, this might be a few miles off here, but this has been a constant signature of the model data. This cell was alone. This cell was alone. This cell was alone. Here's the line. These cells are alone in front of the line. They can do their own work. So that's the concern. It's those little cells that are in front of the line. This line will be strong itself. It's going to produce severe weather itself. There's no question about that. This line is going to produce strong wind gusts, moderate hail, and a small low-end tornado risk. But it's the cells in front that have the bigger potential. Advance this forward to 5 a.m. Eastern time. That cell is alone. That cell was alone. These cells are alone over here. Here's your line. Advance this forward, 6 a.m. Eastern time. So this is why I said we might have to extend the time all the way up to 7 to 8 a.m. because this line still looks pretty potent at this point. This is the shape of the cells. If you look at them, the commas, those are what have me a little bit concerned. Again, those more comma type of storms are usually your stronger storms. Advance this forward to 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., so on and so forth. Here's your updraft helicity. This shows us where storms might be spinning across a great portion of Kentucky. It doesn't really show any spin down here, but that's because it doesn't really show any cells down there. I do think cells pop up in southern Kentucky, which is why it's the bulk of the zone there. But this shows you pretty much that entire line that we saw come through from the Ohio River pushing through Kentucky. It should be spinning at some level, whether it's spinning at the ground or spinning at the surface, or elevated, I should say. If it's spinning elevated, that's the best. That's the best option for us, because that would only produce hail and damaging winds. Still a pretty tough scenario to deal with, but not anything like tornadoes. All right. So again, a lot of this is going to be elevated spin. There's only going to be a few cells that have the surface spin, and those few cells that have the surface spin will be the ones that jump out in front of the line. So keep that in mind. If you have the line coming through, and let's say I'm in Radcliffe, for example, for me, and I see the big line is coming through, I know that's more of an elevated risk. George told me that's going to be damaging winds and low or moderate hail. If I have myself, or if I open the radar, I'll open my WeatherWise radar tonight, and I see a cell that's all by itself, and I'm under it, I know that's more of a chance for stronger or severe weather when it comes to perhaps some more surface-based stuff, like maybe a brief chance at a tornado, maybe a brief chance at some even increased wind gust. So just keep that in mind tonight. If you're seeing the big old line, that's up in the air. If you're seeing a cell by itself, that's the more concerning ones. All right, so that's what we're looking at on model data real quickly. I want to show you the significant tornado perimeter. This is a kind of useful tool. I'm only showing you it just to kind of highlight once again, Southern Kentucky, you are the main area to be concerned with. If I advance this forward, you'll see the significant tornado index increases for basically along the parkways to point south. So it matches the SPC's forecast. This does not guarantee to you that a tornado is going to occur. This is telling us that the ingredients are there to support perhaps some spin ups. So I just wanted to show that to you because once again, I want to point out basically from Elizabethtown to point south, Litchfield to point south, Hopkinsville to point south, Danville, Richmond to point south, down to the Kentucky-Tennessee border. That's the area we are looking at. So again, our forecast pinpoints it pretty well. But I do actually like the SBC's forecast more. I just haven't had a chance to update ours. Here's the SBC's forecast. I'm actually going to pull it up on WeatherWise. By the way, if you download WeatherWise, it has all the SBC outlooks and everything there for you. Pretty cool, really, really cool radar, guys. I can't talk about it enough. Even if they weren't a sponsor, I probably would talk about them a whole lot. But here is the SBC's forecast on WeatherWise. Again, basically from Elizabethtown to points south, Litchfield, Morgantown, Crofton, Hopkinsville, Somerset, London, Brodhead, Corbin, Monticello, Burkesville, Tompkinsville, Scottsville, Franklin, Russellville, Bowling Green, so on and so forth. Those are your areas where the tornado odds are a little bit higher. Again, because of those cells that may jump out in front of the line. That does not guarantee that every single city in this brown zone is going to see a tornado. This is just where the odds are higher, because you have the potential for those cells to jump in front of that line. There is still a tornado risk, generally a 2 to 4% risk for that green area. Madisonville, Paducah, Mayfield, Bardstown, Radcliffe, Lexington, Nicholasville, Richmond, Mount Sterling, Stanton, West Liberty, Hazard, Pineville, Middlesboro, so on and so forth. That is probably for that line. So remember that line I showed you from the Ohio River that's going to track through Kentucky. That's probably for that line there. Again, that's the tornado risk. Here's your wind risk, pretty much for all of Kentucky. Let me go ahead and zoom that out a little bit for you. And then going out toward the hail risk, again, pretty much all of Kentucky at that point, so on and so forth. I want to show you the WPC's excessive rainfall outlook. It does highlight that eastern Kentucky might have some flooding issues to occur. 2 to 4 inches of rain might actually occur out there over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. So keep an eye on that out western Kentucky. But so on and so forth. Here are your current temperatures. They are on the rise, so you're going to see something really weird tonight. We all know that usually the temperature falls as you go late tonight or late into the night and overnight hours. The temperature is actually on the increase, and we'll actually see many folks in Kentucky go all the way from 35 degrees that we saw earlier today all the way up to the 60s by about 3 a.m. So quite the influx of warm weather. Matter of fact, hello down there in McCreary County, Whitley City, you're already at 60 degrees. So again, quite the abstract here. Look at this. Whitley City, 60 degrees. Florence, Kentucky, Boone County, Burlington, 32.1 degrees. So that's kind of why, obviously, northern Kentucky, you're not expecting to see as much because you're obviously a solid 30 degrees colder than southern Kentucky. But nonetheless, temperatures will be on... Hello, can you hear me? My microphone, there it goes. My microphone just went off out of nowhere. Nonetheless, overall, temperatures will rise as we head through the night. Dew points will also rise. If you go outside at about 2 or 3 a.m., it'll actually feel like a May evening outside, the month of May. It's going to feel absolutely insanely different than it does now. Kind of really cool to kind of process there. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and pull that back up for you guys to see. Let's go ahead and go back over here to full display. And we'll get to a few questions now. Again, I'm not going to answer everyone's backyard. All the maps and everything are on our pages on Twitter and Facebook, by the way. Each warning, by the way, tonight will be posted to our Twitter. You can see up here in the top right corner, WNK at Weather Now Kentucky. Every single warning that's posted tonight will be posted on our Twitter. So if you want to have info on every single warning, that's the place to go. I cannot do that on Facebook because Facebook will punish me on the algorithm. But on Twitter, we can do that, or X, whatever you want to call it. Alicia, with your $5 donation on YouTube, thank you very much. Billy, thank you for the update out of Rocky Hill. Hopefully that gets better for you. Maddie Grace, overall the tornado risk is pretty low, but it's our first tornado risk in quite some time, and it's a moderate tornado risk. It's a slight tornado risk. Usually the highest I've ever seen in Kentucky is 15 to 29%. This red area down here. This is the highest I've ever seen personally in Kentucky. Usually, for our more severe events, we have this yellow area. So for this to be a 5 to 9% risk, it's pretty healthy. Again, I don't think this is some massive outbreak here. I don't think this is some historic event. But this is a pretty healthy event that we have to respect, especially since the prime time for it You know, it's going to be 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. Eastern time. That's going to be the peak time for it. Usually, our peak time for severe weather is about 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time. So, a very odd event here overall, and that's why we've been forecasting it so hard because it's our first one. It's coming in the middle of the oh my goodness, of the overnight hours, and this is a healthy threat that we do have to respect. I'm the t- I try to drink my water with the lid on, by the way. Gabby, that's a great question. Gabby says, "Is this a can you still go to sleep storm or stay up just in case storm?" So for me, I'll just tell you how I would treat it. Now, again, in the before I say this, in the green area, you should still respect the threat, right? But I think in the green area, this is something that you could probably sleep through. Just have your phones turned on. If you have a weather radio, obviously make sure that's ready to go. Just so you have a way to wake up in case of alerts, because this could spread to the north. So I don't want to tell anybody, hey, you can sleep right through this, you'll be just fine. But if you're in the green area, you could probably sleep, right? In that brown area, I would probably stay awake if I could. Now, a lot of you have to work tomorrow. You can't stay awake, or a lot of you are at work for overnight shifts. You can't pay attention the entire time. But in that brown zone where the higher tornado risks are, I would probably wait for the all clear. If it was me and I was in charge of my family safety, I would probably wait for the all clear. But unfortunately, know that that's going to be a long night. You're probably, if you do stay up, you're probably not going to get an all clear until at least 5 a.m. So again, a lot of folks have smartphones. A lot of folks have ways to get alerts and notifications. As long as you have your ringers and volumes on full blast, you should be good to go. The only problem with that is if something gets knocked out, if a cell tower gets knocked out, if a power pole gets knocked out, so on and so forth. It could be tricky to get those alerts out to phones. So just make sure. This is why we always tell you guys, even though everyone feels like it's ancient, it's not. This is why we tell you guys all the time: take the 15 to 20 bucks, go to Walmart, buy a weather radio, because if the cell towers do get knocked out, that weather radio is going to be right there for you. You know what I mean? Kind of like having a flashlight. If your power gets knocked out, that flashlight's going to be there for you. You hope you don't have to use it, but the flashlight's there. Same thing with the weather radio. It's rare for a cell tower to go out, but we did see it back in that ice storm just a couple months, just the last month, where cell towers got knocked out and people couldn't get alerts. So hopefully that taught a lot of folks to have weather radios. Bardstown's definitely in the green. Yeah, but still, again, I don't want you to let your guard down for the green risk. The fact that you have a tornado risk in Kentucky in the middle of February at all is alone should be respected, right? This is pretty rare territory for us. We've had severe weather in January. We've had severe weather in December. We've had severe weather. We know March through June. February is usually a really calm month for us when it comes to severe weather. Usually it's more of just cold rains or snows, so on and so forth. This is pretty rarefied air for us, and it kind of just fits this winter overall. This winter has been a really chaotic one, from ice storms to mini blizzards to double-digit snowfalls to now we're looking at severe weather. I don't know what's going on, guys, but it's going on. That's my saying sometimes. I don't know. Whenever I'm having a hard day, I just tell myself something's going on. I don't know what it is, but I'm here to roll with it. Again, time frame for everybody's going to be basically from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern time. Yes, Bryce, that's great. That's a great mention. Do not depend on weather sirens. Those tornado sirens outside are made for folks that are in their vehicles. They're made for folks that are outside. They are not. Now we can hear those sometimes when we're inside, but they're not made to warn people that are inside of homes and inside of buildings. They're made to inform people that are outside. So do not think going to sleep you can wake up to a tornado siren, right? If you have a TV on, you're already working to drown out the noise. If you have your air or heat on, you're working to drown out the noise. You're not going to be able to hear it as well as I think you would. Beaver Dam is right on that line, but I believe it's in Brown. Brandy, if the conditions meet it, we're watching it. Matter of fact, let me look. What's a good thing I don't have anything bad on my computer? I would have just leaked myself right there. Um, mm, at the least, I do think there will be a severe thunderstorm watch put out. We could see a tornado watch put out. You might see both watches come out. You might see a severe thunderstorm watch for along the Ohio River. You might see a severe thunderstorm watch for those folks in green and a tornado watch come out for the folks in brown. Or they may just go tornado watch for the entire thing. I don't know. At the least, if it were me, I would put a severe thunderstorm watch out. Um, but I do. You could very well argue the tornado watch should come out. That would probably be issued. Oh goodness. If I had to guess, if we're looking out for a watch, probably around 10:30 latest. That's Eastern time, by the way. Again, the SPC and the NWS goes at their own speed. Sometimes they put out things really early and it's great. And sometimes they wait way too long. For example, last week we had all kinds of flash flooding and flooding going on in central Kentucky. No one ever got a flood watch until an hour before the storm ended. Same thing happened out in eastern Kentucky. I don't know what happened there. And I don't like to talk mess, but that was absolutely a ball drop by them. And then sometimes you'll get watches 3 days in advance. It's incredible to me. Um, yeah, so that's a great question. Jocelyn says, if we don't get a watch, will the tornado odds basically be the same? Yes. So I don't want you to think tonight if you don't get a watch put out that you're safe. We don't go by watches over here. We go by what we forecast. Regardless of whether a watch comes out tonight or not, I do think it will. By the way, again, probably could just be a severe thunderstorm watch. Since the likelihood of several tornadoes isn't high, we're only looking at a few tornado possibilities. You could probably see a severe thunderstorm watch, but regardless if other watch comes out or whatever that watch is, I wouldn't pay it too much mind. I would already know, hey, George told me I need to be on the lookout tonight. We need to be on the lookout tonight. So it's a severe threat starting around midnight. Technically, the window opens around 10:30 or so, and then closes around 6 to 7 a.m. But the peak is going to be basically, yes, from about midnight to about 5 a.m. That's going to be the peak time frame to watch. All right, I think we've done a good job here of getting everything together. I'm going to get off here and go back and look at some of the new data. You can tell it's been a long day. It's been a long day. So I'm going to get off here and go and look at some of the new data coming in compared to what we're looking at currently in our atmosphere, and kind of get to where we're going there. Again, we'll have several updates on our Twitter at Weather Now Kentucky over there, or at Weather Now KY, I should say. Please go follow that. That's where we're going to post all of the warnings tonight. Again, we can't really do that on Facebook because Facebook will punish us. But we can post as much as we want on X. So all the warnings and everything will be posted there at Weather Now KY. Obviously, we'll be active on our Facebook too. We'll be live if the event really does go lopsided. We'll be live on both YouTube and Facebook. We already have broadcasts that are prepped for the overnight time frame. So we'll be right here with you guys. Make sure you turn the bell on if you're on YouTube. Turn your notifications on Facebook. The easiest way on Facebook to do that is go up, instead of following the page, just like the page. I don't know why Facebook has to be difficult about it, but they do. That's the easiest way to do that. So until then, I'll catch you guys later. Be safe. Be safe tonight. I don't think tonight's a real big, massive, historic, gonna make headlines in the next 40 years type of event. But it is a severe threat that we do need to respect, and we'll be here with you guys throughout the entire thing. So don't stress, don't freak out. You know, our slogan is relax. W&K has your back, and that's true. We do have your back. We're all here. Team knows it's all hands on deck tonight. We're ready to go for you guys. Until then, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with W&K. Stay safe, Kentucky.